Namaskar. Welcome to this summary session of the 18th Adhyaya of Sri Bhagavad Gita. We start with our gratitude towards the Lord, with whose grace everything is possible. We pray to this Guru Shishya Parampara through which this knowledge is transmitted for generations so as to reach us. I pay my respects to my Guruji, Pujya Guruma, with whose grace I am able to learn the scriptures and share this understanding with you. We start with a prayer. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So 18th Adhyaya is the summary of the entire Bhagavad Gita. It's a very, very beautiful, very important, very nice Adhyaya. It's called the Moksha Sannyasa Yoga, means achieving the liberation, freedom from all our limitations, from all our identifications, from all this Sukha, Dukkha, Samsara. And how can we achieve this? By renunciation, by Tyaga, Sannyasa. And the real meaning of Sannyasa is what Bhagavan tells us here, and how we can achieve this transcendence from the samsara chakra, from these worldly afflictions, is what is moksha, and that is ultimately the goal of Bhagavad Gita. It's a moksha shastra, and that's why in this penultimate adhyaya Bhagavan talks about what all we have to renunciate, what all we have to leave, what is the right understanding, how we can achieve moksha. That is what Bhagavan teaches us, and it's the essence of the knowledge of the Vedanta or the Upanishad. In the second Adhyaya, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan gave a nutshell, Sankshepa, all these Atma Vidya, Karma message, and then the knowledge part, the Gnana, Sita Prajna, and then he described in details from the 3rd to the 17th Adhyaya, and again now in the 18th Adhyaya, Bhagavan is summarizing the message of the Gita Ji, but also touches many more important subjects which has not been touched in the earlier chapters, like Buddhi Shakti, what are the 3 types of Buddhi, Dhruti Shakti, all these has been touched here in the 18th Adhyaya. And that's why all these are very important for us, for our day-to-day life, and that's why it becomes an important Adhyaya for us, how we can first go from our Rajasic and Tamasic tendencies towards the Sattvic tendencies, and then after the Shuddhi, how we can transcend all these 3 gunas and go towards the Nirgun Tattva that Bhagavan is talking about, what is moksha. So first, the first shloka starts with Arjuna's question. He wants to know what is the difference between Tyaga and Sannyasa. He asks Bhagavan that what is Tyaga, what is Sannyasa. I want to know it Tattvataha, properly, truly. I want to know this, understand the differences. And the pruthak, all the different types of tyaga, sacrifice, what all needs to be given up, also he needs to know. And with this question, the adhyaya starts. And Bhagavan gives a very nice answer. He says, Kamyanam karmanam nyasam, that is sannyasa, means giving away selfish actions. He clearly shows the difference between tyaga and sannyasa. He says, giving up selfish actions, sakama karma, is what is called as sannyasa. Essentially, giving up all types of karma, sarva karma tyaga is what is sannyasa. And Bhagavan says, sarva karma phala tyagam, rahuhu tyagam vichakshanaha. Sarva karma phala, giving up the attachment to all the actions, the results of all the actions, sarva karma phala tyaga, that is what is called as a tyaga by vichakshanaha. The learned call is tyaga, sacrifice. And this is what is the understanding of the Lord, that karma tyaga is sannyasa, whereas karma phala tyaga is tyaga, and that is also what is called as a karma yoga. So this is the real meaning of tyaga according to Bhagavan Shri Krishna. And he again reiterates the 2 lifestyles which he had already earlier described in the beginning of the 3rd Adhyaya in response to Arjuna's question whether he should fight this battle or he should run away and do sannyasa. And with this question, Bhagavan had showed Lokesmin Duvida Nishta Pura Prokta Mayanaga Gnana Yogena Sankhyanam Karma Yogena Yoginam. He said there are 2 lifestyles, 2 ways you can achieve the ultimate, the God attainment can be done by 2 methods. Pravrutti karma, that is the householders, and the second is Nivrutti Sannyasa, the hermits. method. And the Grihastha is one where we practice Karma Yoga, which is a safe and the preferred mode, where the essence is Karma Phala Tyaga. And the Nivrutti Sannyasa, which is more essentially for the Jnana Yoga, it is the Karma Tyaga, which is very important here. Karma Tyaga, the Shastra gives Anumati, gives permission to do Karma Tyaga for sannyasis. So this is what are the two lifestyles that Bhagavan is talking. In the third shloka, he shows the opinion of the wise people in this regard to karma and karma phala. He says that learned people believe that one should not give up improper actions, that is nishiddha karma, that is the one which our Shastra described as we should not do, whereas others believe that the actions of yagna, dana and tapa karma, the actions of yagna, charity and tapa should not be given up, they should never be given up. That is the opinion of some learned people. And Bhagavan in the next shloka shows that what is his definite opinion in this regards to karma phala. He says, understand Arjuna that there are three types of tyaga which you should understand: the sattvic, rajasic and the tamasic tyaga. And he says that according to Lord, Bhagavan says one should not give up these yagna, tapa and dana karma because they lead to purification of our body, mind and our senses, because they are the yagna, dana, tapa cha eva pavanani manishinam. They cause purifying the body, mind and the senses, and with this purification only we can get onto this eligibility for the Atma Jnana, what can lead to moksha. And that's why these karmas should not be given up. So let us understand yagna karma. In the ancient Vedic times, it was yagna was kind of a sacrifice, ahuti in the Agni. But in today's life, those kind of Vedic karmas are not there. So yagna means selfless karma done without any expectation, done out of gratitude for the betterment of the society at large. Whereas dana karma also similarly is sharing part of our possession with others, essentially means giving back to society out of gratitude. And tapa karma are the karmas, actions which are done for our self-control or self-restraint of our body, mind and senses, which reduces the attachment to the objects and makes us more disciplined in our life. So all these three types of karma, Bhagavan says, should not be given up because they lead to purifying our mind, pavanani manishinam. In the next shloka, Bhagavan says how we should do karma. We should do it with thinking, with proper viveka, vichara. And these karmas, Bhagavan says, etani apitu, the yagna, dana and the tapa karma must be done sangam tyaktva. Sangam tyaktva means by devoiding of the attachment or with the karma, so with the being a nimitta bhav out of gratitude. Phalani tyaktva. Phalani tyaktva means giving up the desire for the fruits of the action, that I'll get something out of it. Accept the results as it is, like with the prasada buddhi. These are all the attitudes of karma yoga: nimitta bhav, nimitta buddhi, prasada buddhi, and kartavyani iti me partha. As if it is my duty. I'm not doing any, and there is no burden on me. It is a duty. Oh Arjuna, this is the way it should be done. Bhagavan says this is my definite and my best opinion. Nishchitam matam uttamam. And so essentially he says one should do it as a duty, without attachment to karma and without attachment to the karma phala. Also, this is how we should do our yagna, dana and tapa karma. In the next shloka, Bhagavan says there are three types of tyaga. He's already said that in the second shloka, and now he's describing those three types of tyaga. And the seventh shloka, he describes the tamasic tyaga. That whatever is given up, all our niyata karma, all our duty, what are firmly decided and joint duties by the scriptures, they should not be given up. But if we give them up because of delusion, because of mohat, tasya parityaga, if we give up these actions because of moha, then this is called tamasic tyaga. Scriptures never prescribed giving up actions, karma tyaga, but scriptures only give permission to the adhikari, the suitable person, to the right person who is already having a purification of mind through karma yoga, that he can give up karma and take sannyasa route. And this is what the scriptures permit, but they don't actually order or agna kabhi nahi karte to give karma tyaga. Then what is rajasic tyaga? Bhagavan describes in the 8th shloka. He says whatever karmas, actions are given up by dukkham, klesha or bhaya, out of pain, miseries or out of fear. If we give up any action thinking that it is going to cause more pain, people will harass me, there will be all these tax compliance difficulties. If we give up our actions, our duties, then this is called rajasic tyaga. We don't obtain the fruits of our tyaga. No tyaga phalam na bhavet, Bhagavan says, and this is rajasic tyaga. And then finally, Bhagavan describes what is Sattvic Tyaga. In his opinion, he says, whatever karma we do it, niyatam karma, my duty, dutiful karmas, I should do it. Sangam Tyaktva and Phalam Tyaktva, by renouncing the Sangha with the attachment with the karma, karma asakti with the, by having a pride or the arrogance of doing it, that asakti of the karma, for doing it off and on again and again, and the phala asakti, by dividing the fruits of the action, phala asakti. If we devoid, or if we give up these, then this is the Sattvic Tyaga. Bhagavan says it is not karma Tyaga, but karma phala Tyaga, which is more important. And then once we start doing this, this is the Karma Yoga. Where do we reach? We reach to what is called as a Samatva Yoga. Bhagavan describes in the 10th shloka, Nadveshti akushalam karma, does not anguish in imperfect actions. It does not have any dvesha, or kushale na anushajjate, does not get attached to perfect actions, does not have any rag. Tyagi becomes a sattva samavishta, he becomes a sattva shuddhi, becomes pure at heart. Medhavi becomes intelligent, so as to he or she can hold the truth in the heart by Shravana. And Chinna Sanchaya, all the doubts are cleared by logic, by Yukti, which is described in the scriptures, by the technique called Manana. So all this happens, and that Karma Yogi becomes Sattva, Samavishta and Samatva Yoga. And Bhagavan in the next shloka says that actions of karma cannot be renounced completely. It is not possible for all human beings. Deha bhuta nahi shakyam. For human beings, it is just not possible that we can asheshataha, all our actions can be completely renounced. It says, but renouncing the fruits of action is the real tyagi. That person is a real, he is a real renouncer, or the real sannyasa is what, when we renounce the fruits of action. Bhagavan here is describing how closely we are attached to our karma, how strong is our attachment. Kartrutva means the doership feeling is so strongly ingrained in us, so that we cannot completely renounce all our actions. The next shloka Bhagavan describes the three types of karma phala. That anishtam. Anishtam means I did not expect, something that leads to naragati or adogati. Ishtam means I did expect, I wanted to get punya and go to better lokas, urdhvagati, swargagati, and mishram phala, where we get the manushya janma. These are the three results of karma phala, of action after death. Bhagavan says when Jiva goes on the onward journey, all his karma phala theory determines where he actually goes, which loka he goes. But for the wise, Bhagavan says, Sannyasinam nakvati kvachita, there is no such onward gati, there is no such forward gati, because the wise people, the gnani, they have already understood that they are identified with their atma, which is akarta by swarupa. There is no karta, there is no karma, there is no kartrutva, and that's why they don't have karma phala also. They are not bound to this karma phala. They don't have an onward journey. That is what Bhagavan is describing here. In the next shloka, Bhagavan says that there are 5 factors which are responsible for all actions. O Arjuna, you must understand, this has been described well in the Sankhya Shastra, the Vedanta, that all those actions which are successfully completed, there are at least 5 factors which are important. And which are these 5 factors? Bhagavan says, first, adhishtanam. That these are the 5 factors which are the action, which are the causes for the action, for the karma. Adhishtan here does not mean the Adhishtan Chaitanya Atma. It means the body which is needed to perform all the actions. Karta, the doer, the jiva, who identifies with the karma and thinks that he is the karta, he has a kartrutva, that jiva. Karanam are the tools that are needed, sadhana, for performing actions. The 10 senses, the 5 Karmendriya, 5 Jnanendriya, Mana, Buddhi, all these are the sadhana to perform actions. And Pruthaka, Vividha, Pruthaka, Cheshta, all the various different types of movements, physical, mental, and Daivam. The 5th factor is Daivam. Bhagavan says that is the destiny, that is the luck. You call it Karma Phala, you call it Ichvaricha, but that is outside the control of the Jiva. Bhagavan says, don't worry. And these are the 5 factors on which all your results of the action describe. In the next shloka, Bhagavan describes the 3 sadhana for doing karma, the body, the words, and the speech on the mind. Sharira Vang Mayo Bhiryata. These are the 3 things by which people begin their actions, which may be Nayam Va Viparitam Va, means it could be Dharma Karma, appropriate actions, or it could be inappropriate Viparit, Adharma Karma, Nishiddha Karma. For all these 5 types of karma that have been described earlier, the causes, these are the 3 ways or means for performing those actions, the body, mind, and the words or the speech. And That's why Bhagwan in the next shloka describes the wrong vision, the wrong understanding, that even though in this situation where there are 5 reasons for action, the 3 means for the performing action, if I believe that I am the doer, and that person, Bhagwan says, the akrut buddhitvat, he is a man with a limited intellect, durmati, he is a person whose intentions are not pure, he is not able to see the truth as described in the Shastra, and this, Bhagwan says, is a wrong vision. I should not take the credit for everything that I do. There are so many factors responsible for me to perform some action and get my karma phala. In the next shloka, Bhagwan shows the true vision, the right, the sumati, what is the real understanding. Bhagwan says, when we do the action, I am not the doer, I am the akarta swarupa, and that is how I am not bound to the karma or the karma phala. And then for such people, for the wise people, for these kind of jnanis, hatva api sa imam lokan, even after killing the entire world, na hanti na nibadhyate, they don't kill anyone, neither they get bound to their actions. So here this shloka is a little difficult to understand. Guruji says that it gives the eternal principle of the Vedanta Siddhanta, where Atma is the observer, it is a Sakshi, and when that Gnani is identifying himself or herself with the Atma Tattva, it means that he or she is not identifying himself with the karma or the karta, and that's why there is no karma phala, there is no kriya, there is no hanti, na nibadhyate, they don't get bound. And first thing we have to understand is that Gnani by themselves would never do things like killing. But if for a dharma purpose they have to do some killing or some destruction, or without their knowledge they do this kind of, even then they are not bound to their karmas, and they actually don't kill anyone. That is the right understanding of this shloka. In the next shloka, the 18th one, Bhagwan shows the 3 factors which inspire us into action, which is called karma chodana, gnana, gneya, and gnata. Bhagwan also shows 3 factors which are needed for all actions to be performed, which is called karma sangraha, is a karanam, karma, and karta. So here Bhagwan says that the knowledge, gnana, the gneya, the subject of the knowledge, and the gnata, the knower, these are the 3 things which inspire us into doing any action. And Trivida Karma Sangra, the 3 things that are needed for actions are Karana. Karana are the tools done, the Jnanendriyas, Karma, Mana, Buddhi, everything. Karma, the object of the action, whether walking, speaking, eating, all these actions. And Karta, one who performs the action. So here essentially Bhagavan is showing us the difference between the Gnana and the Karma. So only Gnana is the inspirer, Karma is the doer, and how these are the 2 things which are so important in our life, Gnana and Karma. That understanding Bhagavan is giving us. In the next shloka, Bhagavan pledges to describe the 3 differences between the guna of the 3 gunas, the Sattva, Rajas, Tamas of the Gnana, knowledge, Karma, actions, and Karta, doer. This is what Bhagavan says and tells Arjuna, listen to this carefully. Yathavat shrunu tan api. You listen to this carefully. I am describing you what has been described in the Guna Shastra. And in the 20th shloka, Bhagavan describes what is Sattvic Jnana. He says, Sarva bhuteshu ye naikam bhavam avyayam ikshate avibhaktam vibhakteshu tajjnanam viddhi sattvikam. Bhagavan says that one who is able to see this one unifying avyaya tattva, changeless tattva, that existence, that Atma tattva in all the beings, sees avibhaktam vibhakteshu, sees that one undivided in all that is divided. Bhagavan says, Tat Gnanam Viddhi Sattvikam. This is what is a true knowledge. This is Sattvic knowledge, and this Sattvic knowledge is the unifying knowledge. It does not create Bheda or divisions. It creates Abheda Buddhi that shows the one changeless existence, that Sat Tattva, which is there where Changodya Upanishad tells that Sat Eva Saumya Idamagra Asita and Ekameva Dvitiyam. That is one tattva which was there before the beginning of the universe. That same tattva, Eka, Eva, it is the only one tattva, Advitiya. There is nothing which is like this tattva. That is one Brahma tattva, Akhanda Advaita Brahma tattva, which is the principle of Vedanta. And if we can see this, that Bhagavan says is the Sattvic Jnana. 21st shloka, Bhagavan describes what is a Rajasic Jnana, Pruthakttvena tu Yaj Jnana, which shows all the Prithak divisions, differentiations, distinctions in all the beings, Nana Bhavan Pruthak Vidan, all the differences of various types which are seen in all Sarva Bhuteshu, all the living beings, Tat Jnanam Viddhi Rajasam. This knowledge is called Rajasic Jnana, which is the Bheda Buddhi. And Bhagavan then describes the tamasa jnana, where when we are attached to one action, eka asmin karya saktam krutsnavat, completely thinking that this is the only thing that is to be performed. Either it could be worldly pleasures, it could be bhoga, it could be dhana, it could be our relations, attachments to lot of material things. By thinking that it is the completely worth doing, ahaitukam, without any reason or logic, atatvarthatvat, without any accomplishment of benefit, alpamcha, the results are very meager, insignificant. This kind of a knowledge, Bhagavan says, is the tamasa jnana, where we are just attached to one thing in the world, thinking that it is the complete, it is the end of the world, it is the goal for me. And now next three shlokas, Bhagavan describes the three types of karma: sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. First, he describes in the 23rd shloka the sattvic karma, that actions which are niyatam karma, which are done as my niyata karma, as my duty, as my kartavya, as described in Shastra, sangarahitam, without attachment to the action and the results, araga dveshata krutam, done without my strong personal likes and dislikes, aphala prepsunayata, without strong expectations, by desires or nishkam, and these actions are called sattvic karma. And then Bhagavan describes what is rajasa karma, which are kamepsuna karma, actions which are inspired by desires, sahankarena va punaha, which are done with the arrogance or the pride that I have done it, maine kiya hai ye karma. Kriyate bahula ayasam, which requires a lot of exertion, right from the morning till evening, we keep doing something or the other. This kind of bahula ayasa, tad rajasa mudayutam, these kind of actions are called rajasa karma. And then Bhagavan described what is tamasa karma. Karma yat anapeksha, when karma start without thinking of anubandha. Anubandha means after effects or consequences or the other side of the karma. We don't think about it and just we get into the karma mode. Shayam, what all time, money, energy, peace of our mind will be spent in doing this karma. Hinsam, how much harm will it do to others, at what cost I am going to do this karma. Cha paurusham anapeksha, and even without thinking of my abilities, my capabilities, whether I am capable of doing this kind of karma. Moha tarapyate, if I begin my actions with the moha, without any giving proper thought to this karma, tat tamasam uchyate, these kind of actions are called tamas karma according to the Lord. Next three shlokas, Bhagavan describes the three types of karta: sattvic karta, the rajasic karta, and the tamasic karta. First, he describes 26th shloka, the sattvic karta, mukta sangha, one who does not get attached to the karma sangha, kartrutva sangha, or the phala sangha, who is not attached to any of these sangha. Anahamvadi, one who has no pride, he shares the credit with everyone, has a gratitude for what he is doing. Dhruti Utsah Samanvitaha, who is filled with patience and enthusiasm all the time while doing his karma, and who is Siddhi Asiddhi Nirvikaraha, who is remains unperturbed, serene, samatva in success and failures, who has prasada buddhi. This kind of a karta, who is like a karma yogi, which is the first goal at least on the spiritual path. This kind of karta is a sattvic karta. Next shloka, Bhagavan describes the rajasic karta, ragi, who is attached to his desires while doing actions, who is karma phala prepsu, which has a strong desires for getting particular kinds of results, who is lupta, who is greedy, always wants more and more at any cost. Hinsatmaka is violent natured if desires are not met. Ashuchi, who does not have either bahya or antar shuchi. Harsha shoka anvitaha, has extremes of joy and sorrow. This kind of a person is a rajasic person, Bhagavan says. And then he described what is a tamasa karta. Tamasa karta is ayuktaha, undisciplined, impulsive, unaware. Prakruta, unrefined, uncultured, vulgar. Stabda, who remains steep, is not able to mold or adjust. Shatha, who is a cheater, who deceives other people at any cost. Naishkrutika, who is sadist, enjoys giving pain to others. Alasya, who is lazy, careless towards the duty. Vishadi, always in sorrow, keeps complaining. Dirghasutri, postpones his work all the time. That is the mentality. Tat tamasa karta uchyate. That person is a tamasic person, Bhagavan says. Now, after describing these three differences of Jnana, Karma, and Karta, Bhagavan is now starting to describe the three differences based on gunas of Buddhi and Dhruti Shakti. So, in these 29 shloka, Bhagavan pledges to describe these differences, and he says, I'm going to tell you clearly with differences where nothing more needs to be said. Buddhi and Dhruti are the two functions of the brain. Buddhi is our intellect, the discriminating power, the viveka, and the power to take decisions, proper decisions based on our understanding. And Dhruti Shakti is the Shakti, the power to actually have a self-determination, a resolve to remain steadfast in certain principles and rules and niyama, disciplines, kind of a self-restraint for our own self. So Bhagavan is first in the 30th shloka describing the Sattvic Buddhi. He says, Ya Vetti, one that knows appropriately pravrittim cha nivrittim cha, what to pursue, what not to pursue, where to spend our time, karya akarya cha, where we need to spend our actions, where we need to do dharma karma, what is adharma karma, where we should not do actions, bhaya abhaya, where we should have fear, what will make me fearful, what will not, where should I be fearless, bandha moksham cha, what causes bondage and what causes me freedom. So this understanding, Bhagavan says 4 things. Arjuna, this is what is the Sattvic Buddhi, which gives me this appropriate distinction to understand the distinction between all these 4 things: pravrittim, nivrittim, karya, akarya, bhaya, abhaya, and bandha moksha. What is Rajasic Buddhi? Bhagavan says, ayathavat prajanati. It is improper, inappropriate understanding of dharmam, adharma, what is correct, what is the right thing to do, what is not the right thing to do, karyam, akaryam, what is to be done as per actions, what is not to be done per actions. That Buddhi is called a Rajasic Buddhi. And Bhagavan says the Tamasic Buddhi is that which adharmam dharmamitiya. What sees adharma in dharma and what sees adharma in dharma. So it is a sarvarthan viparintanscha. It is a reverse thinking, completely viparya. It sees the opposite. In dharma it sees adharma, in adharma it sees dharma. That kind of a buddhi, Bhagavan says, is a tamasic buddhi. And the next 3 shlokas, Bhagavan described the 3 types of Dhruti Shakti, that power to discipline ourselves, that restrain ourselves, that, first Bhagavan described the Sattvic Dhruti, that power of our self-control, our self-restraint, which with the resolve with which we can regulate our mind activity and senses, which is attained with the practice of yoga and devotion to the Lord. So our Guruji describes that Dhruti Shakti is like a brake of a car. When we are going, accelerating, it helps us to modulate ourselves. And this power always increases by following the rules of self-discipline. We can start with small rules in our life, but gradually we can increase this. That gives us this willpower, that power to maintain or to create some change in our life. The Rajasic Dhruti, Bhagavan describes, is the one which is used for attaining dharma, artha, kama, the righteousness, the desires, all our kama, and the artha, all our wealth and related afflictions, our possessions, prasangena, as per the occasions arises, phalakankshi, with the expectation of some result. So all our worldly passions for our education, for our work, for our profession, for our family, wealth accumulating, all this, the power to do all this is the Rajasic Dhruti according to the Lord. And the Tamasic Dhruti is that power of our self-control with we are unable to leave the daydreaming, swapnam, bhayam, fears, shoka, miseries, vishada, sorrow, and mada. Our pride, our ignorance is the root behind all this. If we just cling to this, we are not able to leave this. This Bhagavan says is durmedaha. This kind of a person is an intellect, is disturbed, is improper intellect. And the idea is that we should go from tamasic, rajasic towards more sattvic. And the next 4 shlokas, Bhagavan describes that what is sattvic happiness. He says, listen to the 3 types of happiness. Abhyasat ramate, which improves with the practice of meditation. Dhyana dukkhantam nikachati, which ends all our sorrows. Everybody wants to be happy without pain. So let us hear what Bhagavan says, what is sattvic sukha, what is sattvic happiness. Describes agre visham, which is like poison initially, which is very difficult to practice initially. We find difficulty. Hariname amrutopama, but eventually it becomes like a nectar. It is so beautiful. It gives an inner bliss. Atma buddhi prasadajam. It is perceived only in a pure mind. In an impure mind, it does not get manifested, Bhagavan says. And all our spiritual understanding, our inner journey, our satsanga, which gives an inner lasting peace of mind, which is pure sattvic joy, is all sattvic sukha according to the Lord. What is rajasic happiness? Bhagavan says, Vishaya Indriya Sanyogat, which is perceived by the contact of the Vishaya and the Indriya. On one side, these are the 5 Indriyas and the 5 Vishaya. When they are come in contact with each other, Agre amrutopamam. It feels like nectar. At the point of when we eat something that we love to eat, when we wear something that we like, it feels like, wow, it's so beautiful. It is like nectar, but vishameva, pariname visham eva. It is like poison because we get attached to it more and more. It may give us pain, sorrow, disease, acidity, burning, greed, violence, all these possessions. Finally, they are like poison. All our worldly, materialistic pleasures, joys, all afflictions, affections, all our possessions are all transient, rajasic, anitya, sukha, that is according to the Lord. And then Bhagavan says, what is tamasic sukha? He says, what initially as well as later, which confuses our mind, deludes us, mohanam, atmanaha mohanam. It deludes our mind, just like addictions, does not allow the person to take the judicious decision what is good for me, and which is obtained from nidra, alasya and pramad, obtained from excessive sleep, laziness and carelessness in our duty. And that is what is a tamasic happiness. And Bhagavan is trying to tell us that from tamasic and rajasic, we should go more towards sattvic. It does not say that sattvic is very good and tamasic and rajasic is not good. It does not tell us that you go from rajasic, tamasic to sattvic, but it is up to us to understand that tamasic and rajasic are something that we have to leave and get into the sattvic mode. And in the 40th shloka, Bhagavan summarizes all this prakarana so far, what he spoke about, all the three gunas of sattva, rajas and tamas, of karta, karma, gnana, and then buddhi and dhruti shakti, sukha, all this is described. And now he says, in this world, pruthivyam divi deveshu, world, in this space, in heaven, on all these lokas, there is nothing, there is no such thing, there is no vastu that exists. Na sattvam asti prakrute muktam, which is devoid of these three gunas, which are derived from the nature, the sattva, rajas, tamas, because everything is made from this prakriti. It comes from the nature, and prakriti, maya is trigunatmika, and that's why all this that is idam, what is seen, what is there, all these three lokas and all this world, this universe, all the persons, things, everything, not just the stula, one which is seen, the gross, but even the sukshma sharira, our sukshma mind, our senses, our indriya, our buddhi, all this which we cannot see, everything consists of three gunas. Bhagavan says nothing is beyond three gunas. He's trying to tell us that there is only one tattva which is beyond the three gunas, but we have to persevere first to become sattvic, and only when we become sattvic we can transcend ourselves from these three gunas and attain that ultimate tattva which is beyond this universe, which is devoid of the three gunas. In the 41st shloka, Bhagavan now starts a new subject of the varna, ashrama, dharma, varnashrama vyavastha, which was the Vedic system, where according to the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, based on the karma, which was created by the guna and which arises from the prakriti guna. So this system, which was based on the guna karma vibhaga, it was not based on the birth. It was started with the goal that the goal of the life for everyone is God attainment, and that's why there should be little competition in the world so that people can pursue their time for God attainment. And that's why this system was a beautiful and a very scientific system which was created. But over the years, then people made it that Brahmin son become Brahmins and Kshatriya son become Kshatriyas. That is how it was made, and that's why the purpose, the spirit was lost, and then it went into disrepute also. So Bhagavan is now describing the natural karma, natural gunas of the Brahmins. In the 42nd shloka, he says, what are Brahmins? They are Shama, Dhamma, they have a quiet mind, they are very composed. They have Dhamma, they have restraint over the self, over the senses. They have Tapa, they do a lot of austerities. They have Shaucham, they have clean, pure. They have Shanti, which is their forgiveness. Arjavam, they have simplicity, integrity. They have Gnana, because that's what the Brahmins are made. They have to, understand memorize the Vedas and then pass on this to the next generation. Vijnanam means assimilation of this knowledge. Not just they understand or know the knowledge, but they also assimilate it in their life. And they have astikyam, they have a faith in the God, in the karma phala theory. And these are the natural qualities, guna of Brahmins. In the next shloka, Bhagavan describes the natural guna karma of the Kshatriyas. Shaurya, they are very brave, they have strength, valor. At the same time, they have teja, they have radiance, self-confidence. They have dhruti, they have a self-restraint. They just don't go because they are brave. They don't keep doing violence, but they have a self-restraint during situations. Daksha, they are very skillful in their all their archeries and all their skills. They are very, very skillful. Yuddhe api apalayanam. They never run away from battlefield. They are danam, they are generous, and they have Ishvara Bhav, means they are leaders. They are leaders, and the kings were also Kshatriyas in those times. So these are the natural actions of the Kshatriya. And the next shloka, Bhagavan describes the duties, natural actions of the Vaishyas and the Shudras. Vaishyas, for Vaishyas, he says, Krushi Gauraksha Vanijyam, agriculture, cattle rearing, cow rearing, and commerce, business, Vanijya, are the natural karma actions of the Vaishya. And Paricharyatmakam karma, service to others by following orders, are the natural duties of the Shudra. And this is how this Vyavastha, this arrangement was done in the Vedic times, which was based on Guna Karma Vibhaga for every individual. It was based on this. So based on this, they would be determined whether they are Brahmins, Vaishyas, Shudras, or Kshatriyas. And what is the purpose of giving this description? Bhagavan is saying that the next shloka says, dedication in this duty. According to our duty, according to our karma, we have to, how we can reach to the ultimate goal of the life. Bhagavan says, Sweswe karmani abhiratah, by sincerely committing oneself with one's duty, sansiddhim labate, a person reaches its goal. And according to Shankaracharya ji Maharaj, there are only two goals in life. One is Antakarana Shuddhi, which is the first step. It's not the final goal. And the final step of the goal is moksha. That is, freedom complete by, and that is only possible by Atma Jnana. That is the Brahma Jnana, which Bhagavan is describing here in Gita Shastra. That's why it is called the Moksha Shastra. Swakarma Nirata Siddhim. How, by doing our own enjoined duties, our own duties, karma, how we can achieve this goal. Bhagavan says, I'm going to tell you that prakriya, that process, how you please listen carefully, how with our own karma only, which we are doing every day, that is the one thing that we keep on doing all the time. How, if we do it properly, by a different attitude, by the karma yoga bhavana, how we can achieve the ultimate siddhi, ultimate goal of our life. Bhagavan says, I'm going to tell you. And the next shloka says, Swakarmana tam abhyarcha, by surrendering your enjoined actions or duties to the worship of that Lord, Ishwararpana bhavana, which is the main purpose of karma yoga, that attitude of karma yoga. And Bhagavan also describes who is that Ishwar. Bhagavan says, tam abhyarcha. Who is that tam? It says, Yatah pravrutti bhutanam, from where all these beings are created. Bhagavan is the nimitta karana, he is the creator of this universe. And yena sarvamidam tatam, by whom entire this universe is pervaded. Bhagavan is also not just the creator, nimitta karan, but he is also the upadana karan. He is the material cause. He is there as the universe. He is not just the creator, but he is already there in kan in every part of the universe, in each and every morsel of the universe. He is pervaded. That is the upadana karana. And according that is the definition according to the scriptures of the Ishvara, abhinna nimitta upadana karana. So that is the Ishwar to whom we have to surrender all our enjoined actions, our duties to the worship of the Lord. And with this, if we do this, Bhagavan says, Siddhim Vindati Manava, people will attain their ultimate goal of life. And Karma Yogi is a person who will connect with the Ishwar. Without Ishwar, there is no Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga plus Bhakti Yoga becomes, Karma plus Bhakti becomes Karma Yoga. And that is how we have to worship our Lord. All our actions must be surrendered to the Lord. What Bhagavan is going to tell us now. Then this is a summary of the Karma Yoga. Again, the next shloka, 47th, Bhagavan describes that following our own duties, Swadharma is beneficial. He says, Shreyan Swadharma Vigunaha, our own duties, even though they are Vigunaha, there are some defect in them, then even then it is beneficial for us. Paradharmat Swanushtitha, then following others' dharma, Paradharma. Bhagavan says, Swabhavaniyatam Karma, following the duties that are decided by our Swabhava, our nature, the apnoti kilbisham, that will not lead to any kilbish, sin. Koi paap nahi hoga. For example, when soldiers are on the battlefield or on the border, whenever they have to do the duty and kill the enemy, they don't get any sin or papa because they are doing their duty for the country. In the next shloka, Bhagavan says what we have to give up and what we don't have to give up. Very clearly says, O Arjuna, Sahajam karma kaunteya, all our sahaj karma, our kartavya karma, what are enjoined, which are given to us as our duty, Sadosham api na tyajet. Even though they are defective, there are some dosha in the karma, even then they should not be given up. Sarvarambha hi doshena. All actions have an inherent defect in them, just like dhumena agni iva avrutaha, just like the smoke engulfs the fire. Even around the fire, which is so pure, there is a smoke which is so dark like a tamasa. But even then, this kind of dosha is there even in fire. Similarly, all our karmas have some kind of inherent dosha defect. Even then, all our enjoined duties, our kartavya karma should not be given up. And this is an understanding which is celebrated in our scriptures, which is what all we do as our duty has to be done by understanding all our various roles in our life we must do, even though there may be some inherent flaws in our duties and our roles. Sometimes we spouses compliment each other by their inherent flaws when it comes to child rearing and parenting. But we have to understand to do our duties well. In the next few shlokas, almost 5 shlokas, Bhagavan shows us the steps of the spiritual journey, how we can achieve this siddhi, how we can achieve this goal. It says, Asakta buddhi sarvatra. After doing karma yoga, he becomes anasakta, does not get attached anywhere, becomes jitatma. He wins over self-control over the senses and the mind. Vigata spuha. All the desires are relieved from the mind of this karma yogi, and then Naishkarmya Siddhim Paramam Sanyasena Adhikachati. Such a seeker, he attains that final Naishkarmya Siddhi, that actionlessness, Akarta Swarupa, the Gnana, the Brahma Gnana Siddhi Prapta Kare, by highest goal, the Brahma. How? By Sanyasena Adhikachati. Attains this only by renunciation, or it's only by Tyaga that we can attain this Naishkarmya Siddhi. Bhagavan again describes Moksha Sanyasa Yoga, the 18th Adhyaya, how by Tyaga we can achieve that Naishkarmya Siddhi, the Moksha Siddhi, how it is only possible by renunciation. In the next few shlokas, it's going to describe what all we need to renounce to attain that Siddhi. In the next shloka, he pledges to describe steps to attain this Gnana Sadhana, the knowledge. After attaining the Shuddhi, Antakarana Shuddhi, the next step is to attain that Brahma Gnana. And in between this, there is a Gnana Sadhana. And how we can attain this Gnana Sadhana and how we can attain this ultimate Shuddhi, Bhagavan describes the steps of the spiritual journey, the sopan of the sadhana. That the first step in our scriptures that it described, first we have to give up our vices, our improper adharma karma, pratishitta karma. Next, we have to start doing karma, desired actions according to scriptures. This could be with our desires, sakama karma, but that should be done from a dharma marga, karma marga, kartavya as my duty. On only vihita karma, which are enjoined by the scripture, should be done, not the nishiddha karma should not be done. The next step is to go from the selfish actions to the selfless action, nishkama karma from sakama karma, where karma, when it joins with bhakti, it becomes karma yoga, and this purifies our shuddhi, our antakarana, our mind, our senses become more pure, and then we will probably get that jignasa, we will go to a guru pasadana, close to a guru, we serve the guru seva, and then we enjoin into this gnana sadhana, where there are 3 steps. One is to listen to the Vedanta Vakya from guru, which is called Shravana, and this Shabda is the pramana for the gnana, what our Upanishads tell us. But this Shabda cannot describe the Atma because it is Nirgun, Nirakar Tattva. It will go and describe the Anatma. It will say this is not the Atma, Neti, Neti, Neti. That is how the scriptures, our Upanishads, because the Tattva is completely beyond Atindriya. It is beyond the words, it is beyond the mind, it is beyond the senses. It cannot be perceived by, it is aprameya. It is beyond any pramana. And then there will be a lot of doubts. After we listen to the Guruji, then there will be a lot of doubts in our mind, sanshaya. And this has to be nivrutta, corrected by logical thinking, manana, by different yuktis. And this yuktis have to be used as if they are given in the scriptures. And then the third step, which is very important, is to let go of the viparyaya. Viparyaya are the viparit sanskara, the opposite impressions in our mind, which are very strongly ingrained into us. And this does not allow us to assimilate the knowledge that we have heard during our Shravana, which we have cleared the doubts during our Manana. And this has to be done by a process of Vedantic meditation called Nididhyasana. So this is the Gnana Sadhana which Bhagavan is describing. Buddhya Vishuddhaya Yuktaha, by obtaining that purity of mind, Trutya Atmana Atmanam Niyamyacha, by controlling our own self by discipline, Shabdadin Vishayantyakva, renouncing all the five objects, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, Raga, Dvesho, Vyodhasyaya, by leaving Tyaga of all our strong likes and dislikes, Raga and Dvesha. It's only by this kind of Tyaga we can attain on this Jnana Sadhana. By just clinging to this universe or this world or these people or these objects or possessions, we cannot get onto this Jnana Sadhana. We need a very quiet and still mind to become eligible to go onto this Jnana Sadhana. Bhagavan says, and then in the next shloka it describes what are those life changes which are necessary to do on this Dhyana Sadhana, because Dhyana Sadhana is also an important part of the Jnana Sadhana. So for the Dhyana, we need to be Vivikta Sevi. We must enjoy seclusion, isolation. For doing Dhyana has to be done on our own in isolation. Lagvashi, we must eat less, because Anna has also direct connection with the mind, and with less food we need to be satisfied so that we can go on to this Dhyana Sadhana. Yat Vak Kaya Manasa, we must regulate our words, body, mind. Dhyana Yoga Para Nityam, the Dhyana meditation must become our priority. Pradhan sadhan, it should not be left in spite of whatever happens in my life. Vairagyam sabupashritaha, and with this commitment, if I am committed to Vairagya, strong dispassion towards all worldly objects, persons, attachments, and in our life we have to make these as our conducive to our goals in our life. And with this, what are the other things that we have to give up? Bhagavan describes in the next shloka for the Jnana Sadhana. He says, one who is able to give up Vibuchya, who is able to give Tyaga of Ahankara. Finally, we have to give up our own Ahankara, our own pride, Darpa, Balam, the force which pushes us into useless activities, Khamam, Krodham, desires and anger which does not allow us to understand, quieten our mind, Parigraham, accumulate possessions, Nirmama, we have to become detached from this samsara, and then we become quite quiet, Shanta, quiet and still, and then only we become eligible to attain this Brahma Jnana, Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. In the next shloka, Bhagavan says, Brahma Bhutaha Prasannatma. One who has attained this Brahma becomes Prasannatma. He is cheerful, he is very happy, he has an inner bliss. The Shochati na Kankshati, does not have any sorrow on losing or does not have any Akanksha, expectations. Samah Sarva Bhuteshu, he sees that one Chaitanya Paramatma, that oneness in all the beings, that is the Jnana that person has. And with this, he becomes one with my own self, develops Parabhakti, becomes Aikya, Gnani Bhakta. But so far, this Jnana is a Paroksha Jnana. And from Paroksha Jnana, the final ultimate is the step, is the Aparoksha Jnana, where we assimilate this knowledge inside so that we know very well by devotion, by bhakti. Bhagavan says, Yavan Asmi Tattvataha. As much as I am in reality, my entire Saguna Swarupa, which is my Upadana Karana, and Yah Cha Asmi Tattvataha, by in reality what I am, that my Nirgun Nirakar Chaitanya Swarupa Adhisthana. Bhagavan says, Tatah Mam Tattvataha Gnatva, thereby knowing me truly, Vishate Tadanantaram, one enters me, one becomes one with me, one becomes Aikya with me, and that is a phala. And Tadanantaram means thereafter, soon thereafter, by Gnana, immediately we get this moksha, and that is the ultimate principle of the Vedanta. Sarvam Khaluvidam Brahma, everything is one, and we have to also understand that Aham Brahma Asmi. The Paroksha Jnana is Brahma Asti, there is Brahma, there is this universal consciousness, but the Aparoksha Jnana is that I am that same universal consciousness, Aham Brahma Asmi. That is ultimate Aparoksha Jnana to which we have to reach. And then Bhagavan describes that this journey again starts with Swakarma, Apyarcham. Bhagavan says, worshipping our actions, Swakarmani api sada kurvan mad vyapashraya. Always offer, surrender all your actions to me. And then Bhagavan says, Mad Prasada, by my grace, by my anugraha, by my krupa, Shashwatam Padam Avyayam Avapnoti. Bhagavan says, you can attain that eternal highest state, that Brahmanishta, only by what you need to do. From your karma, you do karma yoga, do bhakti, and then I am there, I am Mat Prasadat, I am there to give you my grace, my anugraha, and with this you will attain the Jnana Nishta, and finally you will attain this moksha which you desire. So now in the 57th shloka, Bhagavan clearly states what Arjuna and we all need to do. Sarva karmani mai sannyasa. Bhagavan is again saying that surrender all your actions to me. Chetasa, with understanding, with alertness, awareness. Mat paraha, be completely devoted to me. Buddhi yoga mupashritya, use your intellect, remain under my shelter, be equipoised, remain in samatva. Matchitta satatam bhava. Bhagavan says, keep your mind always in me, that I am your goal. And keeping Bhagavan in our mind means constantly chanting the name of the Lord. Smaran itself, Guru Ma tells us that Smaran itself is samarpana, surrender to the Lord. So let's keep chanting the name of the God. And what happens? What is the benefit of this attitude? Machitta matpara. If we keep doing this, what will happen? Bhagavan says, Machitta mat prasadat sarva durgani tarishyasi. That one who is devoted to me, who always has his mind in me, mat prasadat, with my grace, sarva durgani tarishyasi, gets over all the difficulties, obstacles in the path. And Bhagavan also gives us a warning. He says, Athatvam, however, if ahankara nashrosyasi, but because of your pride, because of your arrogance, you don't listen to me, Bhagavan says, what will happen? Vinakshyasi, you will be ruined, you will go to adogati, and you will not get the ultimate success or the benefit of the life that you have been given this human life for. And ahankara is the main obstacle. Bhagavan is telling us that mithya abhiman does not allow me to see what is the truth. And once this is dissolved, the purity of the mind happens and we can go on to the further journey. And Bhagavan says, if you don't understand, because of your ahankara, your nature will also force you. He says, Yat ahankaram ashritya. If you take shelter of your pride, and na yotsya iti manyase. Na yotsya, as we remember, at the words of Arjuna in the second adhyaya, in the 10th shloka, he says, na yotsya, and then he sat down in the battlefield and he says, I don't want to fight. That was his words. And then Bhagavan started describing his Uddesha, his teachings. And Bhagavan uses the same words here, na yotse iti manyase. If you understand, if you believe, na yotse, I will not fight. If you take the shelter of your pride, mithya esha vyavasayate. It is a mithya vyavasaya. It is a purposeless endeavor. This is your manyase, mithya. This is your misconception, Arjuna. Don't think that is the right thing, because prakritim tvam nyokshati, your nature, your kshatriya nature will inspire you to do this yuddha. Your nature is very strong. Our sanskara that we have are also very strong, Bhagavan says. And again, he's telling Arjuna that avoid your false pride and gives a call of duty. Swabhavajena nibaddha svena karmana. You are bound by your natural actions, swabhava, created by your dispositions. He says, kartum na ichchasi. Even if you don't desire to do your actions, because of your moha, because of your foolishness, he says, karishyasi avasha apitat. You shall be forced into your battle, because you have a kshatriya dharma, you have your sabhava is kshatriya, your impressions are very strong, you're dependent on your nature, your prakriti, and that's why it will force you, it will inspire you into those kind of actions. And in the next shloka, Bhagavan beautifully describes that you are not dependent on your prakriti, your sabhava, but you are also dependent on me, the Lord, the Ishwar. Bhagavan says, Ishwara sarva bhutanam hriddeshe arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra ruthani mayaya. Beautiful shloka. Bhagavan says, he talks about Ishwara. He says, God is sarva bhutanam hriddeshe tishtati Arjuna. God is sitting inside the hearts, hriday kamal, of all the sarva bhuta, all the beings, not just humans, all the 84 lakh yonis, the species, as antaryami, sitting there inside. Brahmayan Sarvabhutani. What it does sitting inside, it says Brahmayan Sarvabhutani, makes all the beings go round and round, to revolve them around as if we are sitting in the merry-go-round. He says Yantra Rudhani, as if we are sitting on a machine. He makes us go round and round. Mayaya, by his own magical power, Shakti, the Maya Shakti, he achieves this. Our Upanishads tell us that Ishvara is Sarvatra, is omnipresent, is everywhere. However, why Bhagavan is telling us that I'm sitting inside the beings of all? Because this is this place which is the Praptistan. Guruji tells us that this is the place where we can understand the Lord, we can feel the Lord. This is the Praptistan of the Lord, and this is why Bhagavan says here that I am sitting inside you and making you go round and round. So it's essentially like a puppet show, that the string is attached, which is the some other person is handling the screen, the creator is handling the screen, the jivas are just moving, doing their actions accordingly. But that thread, that invisible thread, which is determined by our karma, by the prasad of the Lord, and which is by the maya, we are not able to see this invisible thread which is governing our lives, and this is what we need to understand. Bhagavan says, Tameva Sharanam Gacha, take the shelter of that divine Sarva Bhavena Bharata by all means, O Arjuna. Tat prasadat. If you take the shelter of that divine, Bhagavan says, then by his grace, prasad buddhi, param shantim prapasi, you will attain that divine bliss, you will undergo that shuddhi, sthanam prapsasi shashvatam, and that you will attain that eternal abode, the moksha. These are the two siddhis that you need to attain. But for that, you have to do your best, you have to do your duty, you have to come to the shelter of that divine. Bhagavan says, let go of all your misconceptions. Ishwar is sitting inside watching you as an antaryami. And then if you, by all means, swabhava, sarva bhava means by all your thoughts, actions, all your misconceptions, all your bhava, you surrender to the Lord. By his prasad, by his grace, you will attain this highest goal of the life, the shuddhi and the moksha. Now Krishna is concluding his message to the mankind. He says, Iti te gnanam akyatyam maya. This knowledge I have given you, Arjuna, which is guhyat guhyataram, which is mystical of the mysterious. It is a hidden secret. Vimrushye, you think of it, Arjuna. Etat asheshena, in the totality, inappropriately. Don't just take one sentence and do what needs to be done. See it in a complete picture. Yatha ichchasi tatha karu. Bhagavan says, do what you feel is appropriate. Now, I'm not going to tell you what you need to do, whether you have to fight the battle or you go and become a sannyasi. I'm not going to tell you. Great teacher gives freedom to his student because they have a trust that whatever I have told the student has properly understood that and he will do accordingly, has that kind of a trust which Bhagavan is telling Arjuna, Yatha ichchasi tatha kuru. Do what you feel is appropriate, O Arjuna. And out of compassion, Bhagavan again summarizes Gita ji in just 2 shlokas here, very beautiful shlokas. He says, Sarva guhya tamam, the highest and the hidden secret knowledge that I have given you. Bhuyaha shrunu me paramam vacha. Listen again, Arjuna, to my divine words. Ishtaha asi. I'm telling you again because you are so dear to me. Me dhradamiti. This is my final opinion. Tata vakshami. That's why I'm telling you again. Te hitam, for your own good, for your benefit, for your upliftment, for your Shreya Kalyana. I'm telling you again, the next shloka, which is the 65th shloka, Bhagavan says, Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijane priyosi me. So Bhagavan here in one shloka summarizes the entire karma marg, the pravrutti marg message. He says, Manmana bhava, keep your mind in me always, do your best duties, do smarana. Mad bhakta bhava, be devoted to me, love me, respect me, do my bhakti. It says madhyaji bhava, surrender all your actions to me by karma yoga. So karma yoga, bhakti yoga. Mam namaskuru, take my shelter, take my sharanagati. Mam eva eshyasi, you shall attain me thereafter. Satyam te pratijane. This is my honest pledge, my satya pratigna, Arjun. Priyo asi me, you are so dear to me. That's why I'm telling you that you do all these 4 things, you shall attain me. This is my Satya Pratigna. And then in the next shloka, Bhagavan gives his final message of the Nivrutti Marg. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyo moksha ishyami ma shuchaha. Bhagavan says, Sarva dharman parityajya, renounce all your duties, all your dharma, karma, out of knowledge, by an understanding, not by Rajsik or Tamsik Tyag, but by the knowledge, by the Akarta Swarup, understanding the Atma Swarupa, which is the Akarta Atma Swarupa. Mam ekam sharanam braja, go only to my shelter. Bhagavan says braja. Braja means go. It doesn't say come to my shelter. It says go to the shelter of that Lord, that Ishvara. Aham tva sarva papebhyo, I shall relieve you of all the sins. Here Bhagavan is telling him that I shall relieve you of all the sins, moksha ishyami, and you shall attain freedom, moksha, ma shuchaha. It's the greatest solace that Bhagavan is telling Arjuna. Don't grieve, don't worry. The final words of the Bhagavan's message in Gita ji is ma shuchaha, don't grieve. The message started with ashocyanan vashochastvam. That also says you are doing grief for something that is not worth doing it for. And that's why it also means that the Gita Shastra is for the relief of Shoka. Shoka Nivrutti is the main purpose of Gita ji. Do not grieve, Bhagavan says. By Arjuna making Arjuna Nimitta, is telling all of us, Jiva, that don't grieve. Come to my shelter, renounce all your duties, understand the Gnana, and come to my shelter, and I shall relieve you of all the sins. You shall attain moksha. It is like a river which goes through all its pravrutti, and all the different pravrittis, goes on overcoming all the obstacles, and finally merges with the ocean, the universal Mahakarta. The Aham Karta becomes the one with the universal consciousness. This is what is the whole or purpose of our life. And then last few shlokas, Bhagavan describes the Sampradaya Vidhi, that this knowledge to whom should be given, to whom should not be given. He says, Idam te na atapaskaya, one who has no austerities, tapa, those who don't have any sanyama, self-restraint over their mind, those who are swachanda, they should not be given this knowledge. Na abhaktaya kadachana, those who don't have any bhakti, devotion, they don't have Ishvara bhakti, Guru bhakti, they should not be given this jnana. Nacha ashushave vachyam, one who does not want to listen Shravana to these Vedanta Vakyas, they should not be given this Jnana. Nacha mam ya abhyasuyati, one who has asuya, dosha buddhi, one who despises me or finds faults with me all the time, should not be given this knowledge. And then in the next few shlokas, Bhagavan shows how he's so happy to the people who are teachers of the highly mystical knowledge. Bhagavan says, Madbhaksheshu abhidasyati, one who shares, teaches this knowledge to with my devotees with the meaning bhakti mai param. This is, he is my devotee, he is doing my parabhakti. Prutva mam eshyati, he shall also attain me, he will become one with me, there is no doubt about it. And Bhagavan says, one who shares his knowledge, who is a bhakta, of all the person who shares this message of Bhagavad Gita, is Priya Kruttamaha, is the most dear to me, and Anya Priyatara Bhuvi, who is no one on earth is as dear to me as the person who shares this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavan says, and Bhavita Nacha Me Tasmat, no one shall be as dear to me in the future also. Bhagavan says that person is very, very dear to me. And Bhagavan also appreciates one who listens and recites this Gita Ji Adhyayeshte, one who Adhyayan Karte, one who listens and recites this Dharmyam Samvadam, which is ethical, moral, and virtuous conversation, Avayoho, between the two of us. Bhagavan says, that person is Gnana Yagnena, is performing a Gnana Yagna, and Ten Aham Ishtasyam, that person is akin to my doing my devotion, my bhakti, that is my opinion. Bhagavan says, one who cannot read and write, but just he listens to this Gita Ji with faith, Shraddhavan Anasuya, without finding faults, Shrunuyatapi, one who listens carefully to this, Saha Api Muktaha, will also be liberated, Shubhan Lokan Prapnuyat, and will attain auspicious lokas, Punya Karmanam, and with all their virtues, with their punya, they will attain the auspicious or the higher lokas. And then he asks two questions to Arjuna. He says, Arjuna, did you hear with ekagrena chetasa, with your concentrated mind, whatever I told you? And then Bhagavan asks the second question to Arjuna, that Ajnana Sammoha Pranashtata Ete Kashita Dhananjaya. Oh Dhananjaya, oh Partha, oh Arjuna, did your delusion, your moha, which was born out of Ajnana, ignorance, did it get destroyed? So it was Acharya's dharma that Krishna is asking the question to understand whether his student has understood this knowledge or not, and whether the purpose of the Gita Ji is fulfilled or not, because moha was the reason why this entire knowledge was given to Arjuna, whether moha nivrutta, whether that fulfillment has happened or not. And Arjuna answers, beautiful answer. Arjuna accepts and surrenders to Lord Krishna. He says, Tvat prasadat maya achyuta, O Krishna, with your grace, nashta moha, my delusion has been destroyed. Smruti labdva, I have come back to my senses. Stitaha, I am steady. Asmi gata sandeha, I have no doubts now that I know that I am the Karta Swarupa, Atma Swarupa. Karishye vachanam tava, I shall do whatever you say to me. Bhagavan says, Arjuna answers, that your purpose is served by moha. My delusion has been destroyed. That is one of the purpose of Gita Shastra, moha nashta. And that Bhagavan Arjuna says that my moha has been destroyed. And then finally in the concluding shloka, Sanjaya, he concludes by saying, I heard this beautiful dialogue between Shri Krishna and Arjuna. He says, which was adbhutam, extraordinary, unbelievable, and romaharshanam, which was thrilling. He says, and then he pays gratitude to Ved Vyasa for giving this divine opportunity, because Veda Vyasa gave him the Divya Chakshu so that he could watch this entire battle which was going on in the Mahabharata Kurukshetra. Etad Guhyam, which was a hidden secret. Paramam, the highest and the best secret. Yogam, which is a solution to all problems. And this he heard from none other than Sakshat Kathayata Swayam Yogeshwarat Krishnat. He said, the Lord of the Yoga, Krishna himself, gave this message which I could hear firsthand. That was a divine opportunity for this. he gives a gratitude to Veda Vyasa Muni, and again expresses his joy and good fortune to hearing, remembering this wonderful dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna. He says it is punyam which provides punyakari, which takes away all the papa. He says, Ashyami, I'm so overjoyed again and again. I'm so fortunate that I could hear this. And then Sanjay enchantingly remembers the Vishwarupa. He says, recollecting Sanskrutya, Rupam Adbhutam, that beautiful, wonderful, wondrous form of Bhagavana, that Vishwarupa Darshana. I'm greatly astonished. Here Rajan is telling Dhritarashtra, Rashyami cha punah punah. I'm feeling thrilled again and again by recollecting, remembering this. And then finally, the concluding shloka of Sanjaya to Dhritarashtra, where it says, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Parthor Dhanurdaraha, Tatra Shrir Vijayo Bhuti, Dhruvanitir Matir Mama. Says Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, where there is Lord of Yoga, Krishna. Yatra Partha Dhanurdara, where there is an ace archer like Arjuna. Tatra, there and there alone is Shri, wealth, Vijaya, victory, Bhuti, all accomplishments, Vibhutis, Dhruvaniti, all unflinching strategy, all that is that. He says that is my firm opinion. He indirectly tells Dhritarashtra that victory has to be there where Krishna and Arjuna are there in the Pandava side. Oh Dhritarashtra, avoid further destruction. You are the king. You can stop this war. But that went on in vain because Dhritarashtra was also in the moha of his children, of his sons. And here the concluding message is that if we do our efforts, Purushartha, like Arjuna is going to do his own best efforts, Purushartha, and then Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Gnana Yoga, and then we have a grace of the Lord, that Lord of the Yoga, Krishna is always there, and in that scenario, success is definitely going to be there to touch the feet of the person. And with this, we come to the end of the 18th Adhyaya, the summary, the heart of the Gita Ji, the message, the final message of the Lord Krishna. And Om Tat Sata Iti Shrimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Moksha Sannyasa Yogo Nama Ashtadashodhyayah. Atha Shrimad Bhagavad Gita Sampurnam. It is customary that after the Gita Ji, we recite the first shloka of the Gita Ji so that we can keep revising Gita Ji off and on again. Dhritarashtra Uvacha Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsavaha Mamakah Pandavaschaiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Gururdevo Maheshwara Gurur Sakshat Parah Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.